Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about lists and how to use them in Python 3. I started recording a little bit early, but let's begin. I want to see if I could get a second monitor soon. I'm thinking of like an ultra wide or like a super ultra, like those massive one like the Samsung G9. I want to get myself one of those. Those are epic. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's create a new file, and we can go ahead and just save this file directly just so that we don't have to do it later. So a list contains more than one element, and in order to indicate that you're using a list, you have to use square brackets, as you'll see right here. And what you do is you put the elements within these square brackets, and you separate everything using commas. And we're going to start off by just giving a very simple example here. We're going to go ahead and create a variable, and within the variable, we're going to put in a list. Okay, so here we have a list. Within the list, you have the elements here, and they're all separated by commas, like I said earlier. And let's go ahead and let's print this out. Print out groceries. And let's go ahead and run the module. It's going to prompt us to save too. Okay, here it is. So here we have our apples, pears, eggs, and milk. Now let's go ahead and let's discuss how we can actually work with this list, how to access elements within this list. So everything, to access an element, you have to write the name of the list, right? And followed by the index of the item. So we already have here the name of our list. And we want to follow it with the index of the item that we want to pick out of this list. And with programming, we don't start with the number 1. We start with 0. So for example, here, this is position 0. The first item on our list is considered position 0. The second item of our list is considered position 1. And positions are, well, the proper term for positions is index. So going along, I'm going to explain this as index. So this is index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. But I want to go ahead and print out index 0. So what I'll do is I'll write the name of the list, which is groceries, followed by the index of the item in square brackets. So I want my Python interpreter to go ahead and print out apples, which is the first in the list. Let's do that. Let's run that real quick. And you'll see here that I printed out apples. Now, in the last stream that I did, if you guys were here, we went ahead and we used some different types of font methods that will basically manipulate this the information within this data to style it. And I'm going to go ahead and use .title. And what this does is it just capitalizes the first letter of the first word. So instead of just getting apples with a lowercase a, we're going to get apples with a capital A. And I wanted to show that you can use methods when you're printing out an item from a list. So for example, we'll run this right now. The only thing that it did here was it capitalized the A in apple. And we can go, and just to show like a different demonstration here, let's say we want to pull out pears, right? We can change the index to 1. Because pears is in position 1 or index 1. Now, Python has a special syntax for accessing the last item or the last element within a list. Let's say we want the last element in a list, right? In this case, because we can see the number of elements in this list, we would say that our last element is in index 3. But let's say that you don't know how long a list is, and therefore you don't know how many elements are in the list. If you want to access the last element in the list, you have to use -1. Now, the same thing you can do in reverse when you want to pick out the second to last element in a list. So let's say you want to pick, like I said, the second last element to the list, you would do -2. And you can go ahead and do this with -3 and it'll print out the third element to the list, so on and so forth. I want to go ahead and kind of use some of the individual values here. We can compose a message and call out an element, one of the elements from the list by using fstring. And I went ahead and I taught a little bit of f-string in my last stream, but we're going to use it again here anyways. So let's go ahead and let's leave our list how it is. And we're going to we're going to go ahead and assign another variable, and we'll call this variable message, right? And using f-string, which gives us access to using our list within our string, we're going to compose a message. We're going to use our curly bracket here in order to call out our function groceries. Sorry, we'll leave it here. Yeah, don't forget to bring the, and we'll call out one of our elements within the groceries. So let's go ahead and let's say I want to call out eggs. I want to call out eggs. I want the message to say, don't forget to bring the eggs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and call that index, which is in position 2 or index 2. And I want to go ahead and give it a title method so then it's nice and neat when the output comes out. Close everything with a curly bracket. We'll put a period. And then close everything with a quotation mark. And instead of doing this part right here, which we already did up here, we're going to go ahead and put print message. All right, let's see how it comes out, and then I'll go ahead and explain it. String unmatched. Wait, give me a second. Oh, okay. I'm so dumb. Okay, don't forget to bring the eggs. Now, what we did here was that we modified our list to print out a message and to pull out one of the elements from our list and include it in our string. And this is our string right here. And again, we used f-string in order to do this because without this f in the beginning of our string, we wouldn't be able to include a variable within a string. And now we're going to go ahead and see if we could kind of modify this list a little bit more, right? And such to change the index of an element. So what we're going to do is we'll kind of go all the way over here, right? And we're going to use the name of the list as I said previously, followed by where we want the included element to be in. So let's say I want oranges to be in the beginning of my list. I want to go ahead and add to the beginning of my list. So now we're going to go ahead and tell the program I want the word oranges. Now let's go ahead and let's print groceries. So instead of having apples as in position 0 as we had in the beginning, what we have is oranges in the taking up that place. And then we have pears, eggs, and milk. So it took up the position of apples. It completely removed it. Now you can change the value of any item within this list. It doesn't have to be the first one. If you wanted to go ahead and change pears into oranges, you would put the index of pears, which in this case would be 1, and it'll change pears to oranges. Now we can also add an element to the list without having to replace it with another element, like we did here, except we're going to just add the element. And what in order to do this, we use the method append. And I'm going to go ahead and show you very quickly how append looks. This is how append looks. And what it does is it add an element to the list, to the end of a list, without affecting the other elements. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So instead of doing this right here, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And we're going to call in our list groceries, and we're going to use our method append. And now let's go ahead and let's put oranges within the parentheses. And now let's print groceries and let's see what it gives us. So now we see our list again, but we have apples, pears, eggs, milk, and oranges. What append does is that it adds an element to the end of the list. Let's go ahead and let's copy and paste this, right? And we'll add it 2 more times. Let's print it out and let's see the results. See, now what it did is because the append method only consists of one argument at a time, we used append multiple times. And it kept adding whatever we wrote to the end of the list. We have oranges, bananas, and ramen right here. Now, you don't have to have a list assigned previously before using this. What you can do is you can create a completely new list with just using append. And I'll show you that right now. So let's say we want to go ahead and create a new list, right? And we'll go ahead and call this variable cars. And we are going to assign elements into the list using append. So we'll just put in square brackets here. So now what we do is we use the same method, and we're going to add some cars here. Now, sorry, as I'll show you guys here, remember that there's nothing in the variable cars. What we're doing is we're adding it on right now with append. Here's our new list. So here we have Honda, Ferrari, Lambo, and Toyota, and it was completely made using just the append method. Okay. So we can also add in new elements, but we can also designate the index by using a different method. And the method that we're going to use now instead is insert. So this is how the insert method looks like. And this is going to allow us to actually add in the element, but also give it an index. So let's say we don't want the elements to be at the end of the list or at the beginning of the list. Let's say we want our element to go ahead and be kind of like towards the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and call out the list again, groceries. And we're going to use the dot insert function. And we're going to put in the our parentheses and include first our index, where we want the following element to be in. So I want it to be in index 2. And I want to put in index 2 pizza. We'll pronounce it pizza. So we do it like that. So instead of pizza, we're putting pizza. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's print groceries out here. Okay, so here we have our list, right? We have apples, pears, pizza, and eggs and milk. And so what the program did was it added in our new element in the designated index that we gave it, which is an index 2. And you can use insert to go ahead and put in an element wherever you want it to go. Now, if you know the position of an element, of the elements that you're working with, you can also use the delete statement if you want to go ahead and remove an element from a list. So we're gonna we're gonna leave this here, except I'm probably just gonna move this here, kind of organize everything a little bit. And we'll actually use the statement here. So let's say that I want to delete, and you're not going to use the whole word, you just want to use del for delete, calling in our list again. And we want to delete whatever's in index 3. Now let's see what this runs. So if we see by comparison here, here's our list, and here is our initial list. Now what the program did, well, including pizza, what the program did is it removed whatever was in the third list from the first variable that we assigned. So this one. So now eggs isn't here anymore. And we were able to do this because we knew the index of where egg was. Because the thing with delete statements is, like I said earlier, you have to know the index of what element you want to delete. Now after you delete, well, after the delete statement is being used, after it's been used, you can no longer access that removed element anymore. And this is particularly useful for web developers who want to cancel an account on a web application that they created. Let's say that you want to work with an element that you just deleted, right? Let's say that you don't want the element that you delete to just completely disappear. And it's a little bit difficult to kind of explain, so I'll just give you an example scenario to kind of work with. So let's say you're a game developer working on a shooting game, right? So one of the sprite enemies has been shot down, and you want to know the x and y coordinates of the sprite after it's been eliminated. To kind of like add an after effect, like an explosion, let's say, in that same position. Now, in order to do that, you do have to use the pop method, because the pop method allows you to remove an item in the list, but you can work on whatever item you removed after it's been removed. So I'll give you an example of this. But instead of using this right here, we're going to delete it, because what the pop method does is it deletes for us. And we're going to go ahead and let's say we want to delete eggs again, right? But we want to go ahead and use it to create a message for our user using the element that we just deleted. So first, let's go ahead and assign a variable for that element. So we'll just put the eggs, right? We'll call in again our list, and we'll use the pop method in order to remove but allow us access to that removed element. So eggs is in index 3. So now we have print groceries. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and let's compose a second message. There you go. We don't need eggs anymore. It's been removed. Ooh, good thing I saw that. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's print this out and let's see how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to show you kind of step by step what just happened here. So we use the pop method to go ahead and remove eggs from the list. So now you don't see eggs anymore in this list, right? And we went ahead and we printed out a message. We composed a message. And we used the element that we just removed within this message. So we don't need, and here's our element, eggs anymore. It's been removed. Now, if we were to use the delete statement, we wouldn't be able to use the element after in a message, because the element has been completely removed. So what what pop method does is it allows you to use the element that you deleted. And it does this by removing the element and then storing the element here. So here we have our list, deleting the element, and storing the element within the variable the eggs. And then we went ahead and we composed a message and I composed this message just to prove that we can still use a deleted element within the pop method, which is right here. So we are going to go ahead and end it here because I really don't want to make this long. But kind of an overview of what we learned is we learned what a list is, how to access elements in a list, syntaxes such as index, which is important to remember, how to pull an element out and use it as an individual value, and how to go ahead and modify our list using the append method, the insert method, a delete statement, and the pop method. If you want to go ahead and learn more on how to use lists in your coding, I would definitely suggest doing external research and using really credible coding sources such as Udemy, Udacity. They go in really deep with this, and they're like 4-hour videos. I wanted to go ahead and make this real short. Thank you so much for joining in, guys, and I hope to see you guys next time on my next stream. Bye.